Hi, this is Jamie with Flower Shop Network at SAF's Grow Solutions Conference. And tonight I have with me Georgianne Vinicom of Monday Morning Flowers and Gifts and Rebecca Redmond with Windmare's Flowers and Gifts. They had a wonderful presentation this afternoon on social media, so I thought we'd just talk a little bit about some of the things that were brought up in the conference this afternoon. Social media is becoming one of the hottest marketing trends for not only florists but a lot of businesses. Is being social really worth it?
I think social media is definitely worth every ounce of effort you want to put into it. First of all, it's free, which as a business owner is very important. And it reaches such a huge quantity and volume of people across all demographics so easily that really I can't think of anything else that compares to it similar.
I agree, because what Rebecca said during our daytime meeting that we had earlier, there's so much that can go out onto the web that you can't control. People can say things, or there's just so many different things that are out of your control. And social media is a way to really show truly who you are. You can put yourself out there to your customers so that they can feel like they know you, and it's within your control. And yes, you use it as a sales platform, but it also makes you a real person, a real local small business, and I think people really appreciate that.
I agree. I think social media really helps form those bonds that used to be when you had a small town and everybody knew their butcher and everyone knew the trade store down the street. And social media is bringing that kind of back to the community again.
Absolutely.
And to businesses.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
It seemed like Facebook was something that you really focused on. People were really interested in it. It seems to be the it girl in social media right now. How has using Facebook helped you in both of your businesses?
Well, I'd say because Facebook is such a visual source to put your information out on. In other words, you can put pictures, and we're in a very visual industry. So it really, Facebook, the platform of Facebook is it's almost like it's completely made for a florist. I mean, putting pictures out, being able to show your work almost in real time. And who doesn't say, oh, I wish I worked in a flower shop? Everybody's fascinated with a flower shop. So you can show the behind the scenes, you can have links, you can do so much with it. It's really, really so varied what you can do, and it's just a perfect platform for a flower shop.
I agree with everything Georgianne says. It really is the catch-all platform. It's a great alternative and addition to your website that you have as a business, because Facebook allows that instant update that you talked about, and you don't have to wait for the internet guy, the website guy to update something, which might take a month, it might take 2 months, cost you significant money, no doubt, for an update. It's instant. Your fans, your followers know what you're doing, where you're doing, and I think it's just a great platform for all aspects of news updates, photo updates, and any other news you'd like to get out to people.
Plus, people can easily relate to you, and they can actually say something. On your website, you don't really know what their response is, so it allows them to be a part of the action, so to speak, if they want. They can say something nice or share it with their friends, and it's just, the platform is just really perfect for florists.
Yeah, websites tend to have that one-sided conversation where your website is telling your customer about it, but Facebook really enables that two-sided conversation, similar to what you have in your store.
Absolutely.
Which brings me to the question, and I'm going to direct it towards you first, because I noticed that on your Facebook page, you don't just talk about what's going on in your shop. You mention other things. So how do you know, or how would a florist know when they're trying to create that two-way conversation, what they should include in their Facebook and what they shouldn't include?
I think my generalized rule when posting is I try and always engage and educate my readers or followers, fans. With regard to my business profile one, I do try and have a personal element to it, but I draw the line at personal comments such as, I'm going to the dentist. I may put that on my personal page, but that wouldn't go on my business page. But I do think it's important to have a fine line on your business page so people can create a online rapport with the owner to bring back to that community, village style community where people actually know the florist, they know the butcher, they know the baker. So you're going to have an element of personal to it, but I think your focus needs to be on moving the business forward and getting your social media to do what it's there for and, grow your business.
I agree, and it was someone asked me earlier after the conference session, and they were like, well, how do you know what to post? And I said, well, it is really trial and error. Obviously, you're looking for people to give you feedback, and if you find out that there's positive feedback towards different things that you post, that normally you might be more likely to do those again. So if you notice that if you post the pictures of your staff and that seems to engage people, then obviously that would be a good direction. If doing a link to your blog gets people to comment and go to your blog, then obviously that would be a good direction. If you notice that you post something and you really don't get any feedback on it and no one ever mentions it, then obviously that's not going to be one of your go back to sources of information to post.
But the beauty of it is, if you do post something and you find it's not a successful post, no big deal.
No harm done.
Post something else 2 minutes later, an hour later, whatever. There's no commitment to it.
Very different than years ago when you had to do your Yellow Page ad and you only had one shot to get it right for a whole year, and it would cost you quite a bit of money too. So that whole that whole path is gone with this. You can kind of experiment, and if you make a mistake, it's really no harm done.
Yeah, it seems like social media really gives you more opportunity to experiment with your customers and what they really react to, which I think is probably the appeal of it. For both the customer and for the business owner, the fact that, like you said, you could put something out in the Yellow Pages, and if it doesn't hit the mark, you don't have another chance.
Right.
Yet on social media, you have many opportunities.
You can always delete it.
Yes.
There is at least a delete button.
Yep.
So.
And you mentioned blogs. Of course, blogs are another part of social media. Tell me how you deal with your blog differently. You both have blogs. And tell me how you deal with your blogs differently than you do with your Facebook.
Well, I personally have been blogging longer than Facebook's really even been around, that I've been really that involved in it. So for me, I do like reading, and I do like sharing pictures. So to me, it was the first time to be able to do that, to kind of share with our customers and people that would be interested in my type of industry, to just kind of go behind the scenes, talk about a wedding or talk about something that was going on in the shop, or talking about something personal. And so for me, it was really the first very, very social interaction, and I could get comments. But I still feel it's a very powerful tool even to this day. I don't feel it's a replacement. Facebook is a replacement of a blog. I do feel that it's important in its own right. And it's funny, I was interested that it seemed like a lot of people in our session today that were florists did not have a blog, and I found that very interesting. If you are a wedding planner or if you are a photographer, they do beautiful blogs. And because what they do is very visual, and a lot of times they're showing our product. So if I could take anything away from today, was that anytime I do talk to a florist, I would want them to not only say, hey, yes, I should have a fan page, or maybe I should tweet or do some other things, but there's a huge opportunity out there for people to put themselves out and bring also some traffic into their own websites through some SEO, search engine optimization, that their blog can bring to them. So I think there's still a lot of opportunity for florists to maybe catch up with some of the other people in our type of industry, service industry. I think it's just a great opportunity to express yourself and also kind of go to that next level that you can't do on a Facebook page. I mean, obviously in a blog, I've written a lot of very personal blogs about my parents and about what flowers mean to me and things like that, and I get a very good response from people about that. I think it's tough to do that in a short snippet like it would be on Facebook. So it's that extra depth that you get out of it.
Kind of like Facebook is more instant and trending, and blogs are more that deep look. And I think of that with the example that you gave about your golf tournament arrangement, and how you had mentioned it on Facebook, and there was a golf tournament going on. Kind of explain that so we can understand how that real time translated for you on Facebook, because you were hitting the trend right.
Right. We're very close to the Arnold Palmer Invitational at Bay Hill. Every year it's held there. A huge golf tournament follows the Alworth Tavistock Cup, which is another big golf tournament in town. So we have two huge international golf tournaments back to back, both within 3 miles of my shop. So golf is obviously a very prominent, we're surrounded by golf courses, and we wanted to target a particular arrangement towards golf themed, because obviously lots of people have house parties at that time of the year, people come in from out of town, they want centerpieces. So we did this golf theme arrangement that had the golf balls in and the golf tees coming out of it, and we originally posted it on our blog as not really as a sales pitch, just more of, hey, look at this quirky idea we came up with today. And we noticed that people were going to look at it, so we then posted it to Facebook as, look what you can buy this week. Send it to a golf enthusiast, send it to the person who hosted the party for the luncheon, or whatever, lots of suggestions. And that brought us instant traffic for that. People don't, what we're doing is we're educating people in that flowers can have meaning, but they can also be appropriate for a specific event. And often, if you said send flowers to a golf tournament host, they would think, well, okay, but if you can send a golf-themed arrangement, awesome.
And the other cool thing about blogs is that they're kind of always out there, hanging out there for you. So if you, for example, I have a blog on my site that I wrote on how to prepare for a wedding consultation. And I still link to that when a bride comes to me and says, oh, I need to schedule a wedding consultation. I actually link them back to that blog and say, here's, read this blog and this is what you can do to prepare. So one of the things that I found after all these years, that those blogs never really seem to go away. And if they were popular, they still remain popular. And it just it's just another way, it almost never goes away, which is a good thing. It's a very good thing.
It gives you a really good archive of information for your customers. We've talked, of course, there's several social media platforms out there. There's YouTube, there's Flickr, there's LinkedIn. But blogs and Facebook seem to be the two predominant ones. But if you had to tell florists, you need to start with or only do this particular social media platform, which one would you guide them to as their first learning?
I think we'll agree on
Facebook.
that. Facebook, yeah.
Without a doubt. If you're only going to do one, then Facebook is definitely the one to start out. It's very user-friendly. It's not intimidating in any way. You can't really make a mistake. If you do, delete it. No big deal. You can cover lots of platforms, pictures, news, posts. You can write slightly longer articles in the notes section. So if you're just going to do one, do that. But,
you can send direct messages to to the people that are following you. You can have links to and download videos. Probably even more than Rebecca and I have even done. There's so much. Plus, add the whole fact that you can do some very, very targeted pay-per-click and some by impression advertising. It kind of has the whole package. And that's why Facebook is as big as it is. You can't read a news story without hearing something going on with Facebook, and there's a reason why there's all that buzz.
It has that. It has all the things you need. It has sense of community. It has two-way conversations, and it's simple and easy to use. So
absolutely,
I would probably agree with Facebook being the one that I would suggest.
And add the whole album and picture thing. I wouldn't say that they would replace a website, but they sure as heck can come pretty close, because you can send people links to different albums on there and say,
Georgianne
hey, look
and I
at
had this conversation on the phone the other day. We often both send our potential brides to our Facebook page rather than our website. My website has beautiful wedding pictures on, but they could be 6 months old. If you want to see the wedding I did last weekend, it's on Facebook.
Absolutely.
So.
I can meet with a bride on a Monday and I can show her pretty much, and of course, you have to take pictures, you've got to download them. That takes time. Sometimes I am surprised when I meet florists at different functions and I find out that they don't take pictures of their work, that they don't even have a camera in the store, which I find shocking. But it does take time to do that. But when you think about the immediacy of it, I mean, I can meet with a bride and a groom on a Monday, and I did actually a couple of weeks ago, and the groom was like, I really like that bouquet you just posted. And it was a Gerber daisy hand-tied bouquet, very simple. But the groom was in love with it, and literally it was for a wedding I had done on Saturday, and I was meeting with them on Monday. So, I mean, you want to talk about really being able to be showing them what a trend is right now.
Yeah.
You don't get any more immediate than that.
Well, and the website has its place because you need the e-commerce so that people can easily order those everyday flowers or those birthday flowers or anniversary flowers. But when you're doing special events, social media can really make a difference. And I've noticed on both your sites, it does make a difference, because if I was looking for someone, the engagement that you have on your Facebook pages really draws me in.
Well, keep in mind, as far as weddings, who's getting married? A lot of times they're under the age of 30. So Facebook's going to be a very, very comfortable platform for them. Somebody that's maybe older is going to maybe gravitate more towards your wedding website. Maybe they don't really. Maybe they are on Facebook, but they haven't really thought about looking at people's pages, or they may not be as likely to go in that direction. But I can tell you, somebody under 30 sure is, and when they see that you have a link to your Facebook page on your website, they're going to go right there because they really want to see what's going on. And like we said earlier, they've pre-qualified you by the time they come in for their wedding consultation, because they have so many ways to really, look at your work. And, the kiss of death is, I've gone on so many other florist websites and all their sites look the same, all the wedding work looks the same. It's because they're stock photos. Really, even if you don't have a wedding-specific website, with Facebook, it could be that for you, and it's free and it's pretty easy. It's just a matter of getting some pictures from your brides or photographers, taking some pictures of things before they leave the shop, getting some room shots. It's really not that hard. But that under 30, that's what they're going to gravitate to that first. So if you're doing weddings, that's the place to be.
One example I omitted to mention earlier today, I just thought of it, was I'm currently I just booked a bride who gets married at the end of the year. She wasn't a friend of my shop on Facebook. However, one of her friends was a fan of Windermere Flowers on Facebook. I don't know how, just through people knowing. I don't think we'd ever done any work for her. And the bride-to-be posted on her Facebook wall her frustration with not being able to find a florist. So her friend, who happened to be a friend of Windermere Flowers and saw my post, said, I've never met the florist, but I've seen her Facebook, why don't you give her a try? And that just booked me a $5,000 wedding. So, and she's an under 30. The whole cycle of business was through Facebook.
Right.
Yeah, that's amazing. I do have one question. Because Facebook is a third party, and you really don't have control over what Facebook decides to do, does it ever worry you that you're building your reputation on something that can essentially be taken away from you should they decide?
Well, I know for me, I make sure that any picture that most of the pictures that I do put on Facebook, I do put on my own website. I do download them also onto Flickr. So, it would be, honestly, it would be devastating, and it could happen. It's not a paid-for platform. But things change all the time, and MySpace was relevant 4 years ago, 5 years ago. I put lots of pictures on there as well, but now, I never update that now, and I don't know whether anyone goes on there, nor do I really, am I that concerned about it. So I guess, yes, I think that's one of the reasons why I always say, if you do have a wedding-specific website, don't neglect it. You shouldn't really think of it as, Facebook's replacing it. I do think it's in addition. That's how I combat being worried about that.
And I also feel that if Facebook, for some reason, vanished one day, there's always going to be something out there to replace it. I think there's always going to be now that social media platform in our society. Yes, our photos may not be there, but I don't delete my photos once I put them on Facebook. They're on disk or uploaded online to Flickr or Picasa. So.
And let's face it, when you're doing weddings, and everything has to be relevant.
Yeah.
Even when I have albums and albums of books I show to brides that I still do bring out, and I really don't very rarely go back past 2 years anyway,
the trends
because
change.
yeah, now every now and then, now I notice that some of the trends are coming back in again, and I'm like, okay, when did I do that wedding? Ooh, let me think. Which book is that in? So that'll happen. But you've heard of businesses where they have a flood or things happen, and they do manage to go on. So it's
not something I've ever really.
It's not something I worry about. No, I would just start over.
Yeah, and you would
be
already
shy.
know how to do it because
Exactly,
you've been doing it well. on
It didn't
Facebook.
exist 5 years ago.
I haven't
and
paid
look at
for it.
Exactly.
So whatever I
Nothing
get,
lost,
what I
really.
get out of it now is all
Yeah.
Yeah.
Instant
gravy.
gratification.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, your presentation this afternoon was wonderful, and I think this interview tonight has been exceptionally interesting, and I thank you so much for taking the time to chat with us tonight. And I want to thank you both for being here. Georgiana, it was great speaking with you. Rebecca, it was great speaking with you. This is Jamie with Flower Shop Network at SAS Growth Solutions Conference.